Welcome back to the third Saturday in October, your SEC Water Cooler podcast for the rest of us. I'm Bradley. I'm here with my co-caster Jared, and we've got some championship game to wrap up. We've got some college football playoff seedings we can look at, and we got 2 weeks to talk about it. So if you want to find us, connect with us, find us online, thirdsaturdayiNoctober.com, on social media, or Venmo if you want to support the show at TSIO Pod. Jared, good to be back with you.
I appreciate that. And there is a part of me that is celebrating the fact that a new school to the SEC didn't win the SEC in year one. Is that wrong, Bradley?
You know, a lot of my fellow Tennessee fans would say that's wrong as a Tennessee fan. And I'll be honest, I was cheering for Georgia Tech a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
But then this last Saturday, I was cheering for Georgia because I did not want a new team, especially Texas,
Yeah, exactly.
to win the SEC in year one. Missouri made the SEC championship game for the East. What was that, 12 years ago?
Yeah,
their
that's
first
right.
year.
They did make it their first year. That's right.
And I'm not for this. I don't like this.
Yeah.
So
You don't get it that easy. Yep.
yeah, would it have been better for Tennessee had Texas blown them out in a revenge game? Absolutely, but I'm kind of okay with how things turned out.
Well, and we will get to that at some point in reference to specifically to Tennessee and what implications that now has. But that said, what a heck of a game, Bradley. I mean, I watched that game, Georgia and Texas, and it was definitely one that I enjoyed. We keep seeing some of these teams hit the overtimes.
Yeah,
Man, what a season.
nine overtimes in 2 weeks for
Unbelievable.
Georgia.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
That's reason enough to get a bye.
Yeah, if they didn't get a bye, that would have been a problem. What a game though! Seriously, that was a very good game, excellent game, and
it was outstanding. I believe Texas went into halftime with a lead, and Texas with a lead and a questionable Carson Beck. Seeing him go down and stay down there at the end of the first half. But Stockton, I believe is his name, the backup quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, saying, hey, Archie who? I mean, came in saying, hey, we're Georgia. Our backup quarterback's pretty good too. And Carson Beck pulling out kind of a Matthew Stafford moment there in the last overtime. Stockton gets knocked out. We got to get back to that too, because
that was one heck of a hit. Yeah,
that was he made the wrong business decision there.
Yeah.
But helmet comes off. They've got to have another quarterback come in, and Carson Beck.
I was surprised they let it be Carson Beck. I just assumed it'd be the next guy in line, but that told me a little bit about, well, maybe Georgia. It's not that they don't trust the third string guy, but hey, let's maybe have Carson Beck, if he can hand it off, let's let him do it. And that's how it went. So
well, and as we were getting ready for this, I just happened upon a headline that said when Carson Beck joined the Georgia huddle, that like the guys were all fired up, and it was kind of, hey, there is no doubt we're winning this game on this next play, and you could see Beck just trying to hand the ball off, and having to be very ginger about it.
Yeah.
But well, like Matt Stafford when he was with the Lions, separated shoulder. Carson's kind of like, hey, don't don't touch my right arm. Like, just celebrate with my left hand. Um, but
Yeah, what a
heck
play. Wow.
heck of a game.
Yeah.
Um, and this is what you want in an
Yeah.
SEC championship game.
100%.
You know, I think the broadcaster said this is the first time that it's gone to overtime.
Yeah.
Um,
The SEC championship. You're right.
yeah, that wow.
Yeah, and what a fitting season for that to happen,
Yeah,
with so many overtimes, not just for these two schools, but overall in the SEC. So, um, yeah, man, what a really interesting season.
yeah.
Um, been a lot of fun. So
And it's the perfect season for a 12-team playoff
I
because
agree. Yep.
the picking the top four, I I wouldn't have want to do that this year. And
Yeah.
I know we've got our conference winners of
Do you think they got it right?
the top four
Yeah.
or the 12 overall.
You know what? Let's do 12 overall.
I think so.
Hmm.
And that people are saying Alabama should be in, South Carolina should be in, somebody else should be in, and the the one that should be out, they're saying, is SMU, who didn't really play anybody, and then losing their championship game.
Well, that is kind of true.
It
And I'm not knocking SMU because I thought they had one heck of a year.
Yeah,
And I am kind of happy for them, actually. But at the same time, I can't disagree with those arguments. So,
I mean the I look at it, and now that we've got a playoff, I think, okay, we're kind of moving towards the NFL model. And the NFL model is you win your division and you're in the playoffs. And you can actually have wild cards who have to play more games than a division winner
right.
with a better record than the division winner. And so it's not just the best teams, it's about where you are in your division, or in college football in your conference.
Yep.
And the divisions fluctuate from year to year. The conferences fluctuate from year to year. Who's going to be second best compared to the SEC? Because we we know that the SEC is the best conference in college football. But truthfully, there's some flux to it, and kind of like, that's kind of what you signed up for.
Hmm.
And if you take care of business, then you're in.
Yeah.
There's no more room for a Florida State who goes undefeated not getting into the playoffs,
Yep.
because you're not going to have 13 teams go undefeated. It's
No,
just not going to happen.
it can't.
So you're not going to have those kind of scenarios. Now you may have an undefeated team be that fifth best uh, conference champion. That could happen. I could see that happen if you got a couple of one loss, like a one loss SEC, one loss Big Ten, ACC, then undefeated ACC, undefeated Big 12, and whoever the next one is may be undefeated. I can see an undefeated conference champion not getting that first round bye, but they're still in the playoffs, and you've still got a shot.
Right.
So, is it perfect? No. Do I think they got the seeding right? I don't know. But I think they got the 12 teams in that really should be in there.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about Tennessee's first round draw.
Yeah.
And there are some that may not love that, but I personally love it because, number one, I think Ohio State, of all the teams that they wanted or could have wanted to play in the first round, I can't for a second believe Tennessee was one of them.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're excited about that at all.
Yeah.
even if they're confident. I mean, Tennessee is a very good team, and yes, unfortunately, that game's at Ohio State, but I think Ohio State's not stupid. They know Tennessee's a good team, and they don't have a traditionally a good record against SEC schools in postseason play. Now, does that factor into this game? Probably not. But if you're Tennessee, man, I mean, you are a Tennessee fan, so you're going to speak to this. But I can't think of a bigger way to start out the playoffs by beating Ohio State. You beat Ohio State, you just put the world on notice. Now, if you lose, it is what it is. You
Yeah.
lost against a good team, because they're still a good team. But man, if you win that game as Tennessee, you got to be feeling really confident going in the rest of the playoffs. Don't mean you got it in the bag, but you're off to one great start. So I am so rooting for Tennessee. I hate Ohio State. I want them to lose. I don't care who they play. But I'm so glad Ohio State's not playing, just a cupcake Boise, not that Boise State's a cupcake, but you know what I mean. I
Yeah.
did not want to see them draw like SMU or somebody in round one, and so I'm so glad they're playing Tennessee. I know some Tennessee fans may not be thrilled with it, but I personally am glad that Tennessee's got this opportunity, and I hope they seize it, and I hope they make the most of it, and I hope they win.
Yeah. I, you know, this is truly the marquee game of the first round.
Absolutely,
Um,
100%. Yeah, this is a good game.
a distant second is Texas Clemson. Um,
Which will also be a good game, but I think Texas should be able to handle Clemson.
yeah, and then you've got Indiana, Notre Dame. It's like,
Eh,
oh,
yeah,
okay,
whatever. Yeah.
and um,
Truthfully, I think Notre Dame will probably win that one.
yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
As much of a cupcake schedule as Notre Dame has had, and I lost
Yeah.
to NIU. Um, but
Yeah. It seems like they're seated pretty high for that loss.
yeah, and
Um,
that's where it's like, man, I don't know if I completely agree with the seeding. I don't agree with the seeding between Ohio State and Tennessee.
yeah.
Um, I am excited to play Ohio State. They've only played once before, and I don't know who won. I don't think I was alive.
Yeah,
So,
that couldn't have been recent. I would have remembered it.
and
Yeah.
I, I Tennessee lost to Georgia at Georgia and Arkansas at Arkansas. Um,
Yeah, that was just one of those
Ohio
off
State
weeks.
lost to Oregon. I
And
can't remember
Michigan.
where that game was, and they
That was
lost
at Oregon. Yeah.
at Oregon,
Yeah.
and then to a not good Michigan team at home.
Yeah. Michigan lost to Texas too. So
And so
yeah.
I'm looking. Does Ohio State have more top 25 wins? Yes, but
Yeah, but
I don't know.
they're
I don't know
beating
how much I trust those wins.
their toughest wins are like Indiana and Penn State. And like, come on, really?
Yeah,
Like, I mean, those two are both in the playoffs, and should they be? I don't know. I'm tired of Penn State. I don't see Penn State beating anybody serious.
yeah,
So
and Penn State takes on uh SMU. Like,
yeah, and that's kind of coarse crap in my opinion. Like, I hope SMU runs all over them.
yeah,
If they don't, then you could definitely make the argument that Bama should have been in over them.
yeah.
So
So I look at it. I'm like, okay, I guess Ohio State's got better wins, but they also have worse losses.
yeah,
And so I feel like those worse losses should knock them down a peg, and I think Tennessee should be hosting. However, I
they
don't
should be.
think I don't think it's as as bad as it could be. Like
No,
I'm pretty happy with this draw.
they're not going to do that to Ohio State. Ohio State's the media darling, and it's not surprising to me at all that they get a home game in their first round. Not at
Yeah,
all.
and I'm I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, our defensive line. our front four, superb,
Mm-hmm.
can wreak havoc on Ohio State.
Oh yeah.
Um, I think our corners are better. Um, so I feel pretty good about our defense. Um,
Yeah, Tennessee's just got to step up, man.
our offense was starting to click more against Vanderbilt, and I know it's Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt's still 6-6
No,
this year,
that's
which is
still a good test going into playoffs, I think.
yeah.
Yeah,
And um,
because that was a road game too, wasn't it?
yeah, it was Little Neyland. It was
Little Neyland.
the
Little
road games
Neyland
to
is not Big
Nashville.
Neyland.
The road games for Tennessee going to Nashville. Generally, there's
Are
more orange in the
basically road
crowd.
games. Yeah, got
Um,
it.
I think there was more orange and black this year with Vanderbilt doing so well. Um, but I feel pretty good about this draw. Um, Knoxville can get cold, so I'm not too worried about cold.
Weather. Yeah.
Yeah, if it rains, I think I'm probably more worried about rain than I am snow. But with Tennessee's rushing attack, excuse me, I don't know where this cough came from. With Tennessee's rushing attack, I don't feel too bad about whatever weather we get.
Yeah.
Um, it'll be interesting to see how the passing game develops if it's cold or rainy or snowy. But I mean, Tennessee's offense starts with the running game, and we've got a home run hitter in Dylan Sampson and a stable of backs behind him. I expect um, a pretty good rushing attack when we take
Yeah.
on Ohio State.
Absolutely. That's going to be a very good game. I really do hope Tennessee's up for it. I hope Heupel gets them ready to go, and they have to win that. If they win that, it's absolutely look out for Tennessee.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This
And
is
what
their
happens to
chance to
Ryan Day?
shine. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think anything happens to him, but you know their fan base is livid if they lose to Tennessee for sure.
Well, they've just lost 4 straight to their biggest rival.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not good for him.
That's not good for him, and I think Ohio State has more to lose than Tennessee does.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Tennessee loses on the road at Ohio State first round of playoffs. That Tennessee fans they're not gonna like it, but they're not gonna be all, you know, broken.
Yeah.
You know, at least they made the playoffs. Where Ohio State loses to Tennessee, that's one more loss to another SEC school right after you lost to Michigan. That just puts a hotter fire underneath Ryan Day. But is he going to get fired? I can't imagine him getting fired. Good Lord. If you fire him for that, I mean, what team in the country is not going to want him? You know, everybody,
Right.
I mean, any school that needs a coach is going to want him. Um, any other school would be happy with where Ohio State is. So
Yeah.
Ohio State's not happy because they're, you know, delusional in my mind, but whatever.
Yeah. I as much as I wish that I could be jumping in the Tennessee River um, on December 21st as Tennessee hosts uh, one of the first college football playoff games.
I wish that
I
that
like.
had taken place. Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not playing in Austin. I'm glad I'm not playing. I don't know. I think Notre Dame would have been a decent draw. I feel good about Tennessee having to go up against really any of these teams they're playing in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah. I agree.
Have we had our moments? Yes. You know, Arkansas. Um,
Yeah. Well,
and
I mean, that's Ohio State's Michigan, though. I mean, that's
yeah,
a game
yeah,
that you probably should have won, but hey, that has made Tennessee stronger throughout the season. I think Tennessee's learned from that, and um, you lost to Georgia, but so is most people. So maybe you get a chance to redeem yourself in the playoffs, assuming you can get past Ohio State. That would be nice.
yeah. Um, I mean, what's great about this year? All the teams seem beatable,
Yeah,
and
you're right.
Tennessee's got its flaws.
Yeah,
They
nobody's perfect.
they've
Yep.
made me nervous every week this year. Um, but also look at it and say, there's not a team out here we can't beat. Uh, we may not win, but I think we could give them
Yep.
a really good run for their money. And
So, not to get off topic here, but I do want to bring this up. There are two coaches that have teams in the playoffs that are former Auburn um, offensive coordinators. So one, of course, is SMU, their
yeah,
head coach, and then the other is Arizona State. Both of those guys, funny enough, were offensive coordinators at Auburn at one time under Gus Malzahn, and Auburn's offense could never benefit from those two guys. So I think Gus was in the way, but yeah, I'm kind of secretly rooting on a small level for those two coaches. Even though I'm SEC through and through. So as long as those schools aren't playing SEC schools, I'm kind of rooting for them. But we both know that's only going to take them so far. But
yeah, and and
yeah,
who knows what was it? Was it Gus holding them back, or were
mm,
they
I have to think
are
it
they
was.
better delegators than they were offensive play callers?
Could be. But Gus. I mean, we saw now what's happened with him at UCF and him
Yeah,
ultimately leaving, and now he's going to be an offensive coordinator at Florida State, which I think is great for Florida State because I think he's a very good offensive coordinator. Um, Maybe this kind of springboards him back into a head coaching position if he wants that. He probably could have gotten that anyway, but not on the P4 level, I don't think. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And then UCF just hired Scott Frost, which I think is interesting. Maybe that's a conversation we have for another time. But um, yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on outside of just the playoff chatter with the coaching carousel, and then recruiting day, national recruiting, the signings, and then now the
yep,
portal's open, and then there's just a lot of little sidebar stories that are interesting. Um, but yeah, it's been a fun season. I've really enjoyed it.
yeah.
So,
And here's something that that I heard on the radio today that I hadn't thought about. This first round of the playoffs, it's not bowls, it's home games.
yeah.
And Columbus, Ohio, uh, uh, South Bend. Um,
Whew.
I mean, Austin is pretty fun, but a lot of these places aren't Happy Valley. Like these aren't really destinations, and some of these teams are going to go visit. I mean, I guess we could have all the visiting teams win, but chances are a team's going to go to one of these games. They're going to travel. That's going to be the last game of their season,
Yeah.
and it's not that bowl experience. I think Shane Beamer was talking about this. He was like, "Look, I'd love to be in the playoffs, but I don't want that first round of the playoffs to be my last game. We're going to the Citrus Bowl. I get to spend a week down in Orlando. I'm looking forward to this. I wouldn't be looking forward to some of these locations where these teams are having to go play.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I haven't really thought much about that, but that's true.
And it's not that bowl experience. Plus, you're you're one of
But
the
it
you're
is
one
it
of the
is a
top teams.
hostile environment.
Yeah,
I mean, there's give and take here.
yeah.
I see both sides of the coin because
And because it
yeah,
takes like in order to start this, in order to end the playoffs at the right time, you're having to start these playoff games so early that the first round of the playoffs is pretty much the first round of bowl games, which has always been, you know, all the 6-6 teams, maybe
well,
a
and
five
now
and
most
seven.
of those 6-6 teams got players that aren't even playing in them. So to me,
Yeah,
it's nice that that's happening because that gives you games to actually watch where most of the players are invested. But I
yeah.
see your point. Yeah,
So I heard that and I was like, huh, I never really thought about that. Mainly because I was thinking
man, if I'm a
Tennessee's going to host.
Gamecock fan, I don't care if it's Orlando or going up to Penn State. Like I want to see my Gamecocks win. You
Yeah.
know, and if that's against Penn State at Penn State, that's not stopping me. But that's me, and I know that's not true for everybody. But
Yeah.
I mean, because at the end of the day, even if Penn State's not a destination for a lot of folks, that is a world. I mean, that is a epic, renowned place, college football,
Yes.
stadium, and you're going to go play, Penn State, which is a historic program, and the first round of the playoffs, and the first time it's ever happened with this many teams. I mean, if you can't get hyped up for that, then go
Yeah.
to Orlando.
Yeah. And
I mean, I'm not hating on Orlando. I like Orlando, but man,
in
I don't
in
know.
in that game, Penn SMU at Penn State, 11 a.m. kickoff.
Yeah, and
Um,
SMU doesn't travel. Shoot, SMU barely has fans. So Penn
somebody
State should
said,
handle SMU.
uh, somebody at the office said, I can guarantee that that's going to be a whiteout game at Penn
Oh,
State,
100%.
which
Yeah,
is pretty impressive. Just
it
that
will be.
spectacle.
Dude, I don't even
Um,
think SMU will have barely any fans there. I really don't.
yeah.
I mean, SMU, and when you go to Dallas and you ask people about SMU, they all just kind of smirk.
Yeah.
Like, most people in Dallas don't even care about SMU.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Post death penalty in when was that? Early 80s.
yeah,
It's it,
unless you're affiliated with that school, nobody in Dallas cares about SMU. They really don't.
right.
So, like, unlike Tennessee, like you can be a Tennessee fan and never have gone to the school.
Yeah.
There's plenty of that, but SMU, that's not really the case. Like, there's not, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's not like I'm an Auburn fan. I didn't graduate from Auburn,
Yeah.
whatever. But that said, that you don't have a lot of that with SMU. Like, there's not many people that just say, "Oh, I love SMU," that don't have ties to the school, like they went there or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, uh, my almost alma mater, Baylor University,
yes.
same way. Baylor's not one of those schools. It's like, oh yeah, I just want to cheer for Baylor. No, no, you have to have gone
Yeah,
there.
but I'd say there's more people that would be Baylor fans than likely SMU fans. I might be wrong about that, but I think there are.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Because Baylor's won national championships, or they've competed for them in other sports too, and they've
yeah,
had good football seasons too. So,
yeah.
um, yeah,
Get, going off topic.
yeah, Baylor's won women championships in basketball. They've
Yeah,
won. Uh, yeah, man.
the baseball team was
Yeah,
really
baseball
good when I
team.
was
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
and we would go to all the baseball games.
yeah.
And it was a blast. They would hand out free Fazoli's. I can't remember if it was for home runs in certain innings or what,
Yeah.
but we'd be sitting in a group, and most of the people are like, "Man, I don't want to go Fazoli's." Baylor was the rich kid school. I mean, it's
Yeah, yeah.
private school.
It is. Yeah,
It's not quite a Vandy, but it's that higher academic
yeah.
um, in an athletic conference. And so all these people are like, I'm too good for Fazoli's. I'm like, I am not too good for endless breadsticks. Hand me those things. And my roommate and I would go 3 times a week with those coupons to Fazoli's and just
Tear it up.
put some hurting on some spaghetti, lasagna,
Amen.
whatever. And they come around with the breadsticks. Would you like a breadstick? Absolutely.
Yes. Please.
Do you see one on
Please.
my plate? No, I'll
Yeah.
take a breadstick.
Bring it. Yep.
Um,
That's great. What a good story.
but
I love it.
yeah, I mean, so Baylor was competing for Big 12 championships in baseball when I was there. Tennis was
Well, with Art Briles, they were, in the hunt, a couple of those
that
years
that
too.
that was
So,
yeah that was post my time
yeah.
in Waco. But tennis was excellent. We'd go there. It's funny, but being a Baptist school, they especially in tennis where you can really hear what they're saying on the court. They didn't want any of the players cussing. Well, most of Baylor's players were not American, and so they were cussing in other languages, and the coach had to get on to them. But
I
I mean,
love that. That's funny.
Well, I went to every sporting event that I could. A bunch of them were good. Uh, Basketball nearly got the death penalty shortly before I got there, and we were playing not many games. We just playing Big 12 schedule. No possibility for any postseason. So it's kind of whatever. Um, but women's basketball was good. I'm trying to think what else we went to. But yeah, it was that was kind of a fun. That was a fun atmosphere because there were championship caliber teams to support there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just not football.
Get it? I get it.
But I don't know how we got way off topic, but
I'm glad we did.
I yeah, this is like I said, this is the perfect year for the 12-team playoff. We're we're also getting to see some names that we haven't seen in the playoffs. Because we've got Indiana at Notre Dame, we've got Tennessee at Ohio State, SMU at Penn State, Clemson at Texas, and then Boise State, Arizona State, Oregon, and Georgia all getting first round byes. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be chaotic. I mean, how can it not be? But that's fitting for the season we've had.
Blast. It's gonna be fun. I can't wait.
I can't wait either. So next week we're gonna have to dig into some more of these games. We talked a lot about Tennessee, Ohio State. That's fine. We'll talk about it more next week. But we're also gonna have to get into Clemson, Texas, because that's the other first round SEC team happening.
Yeah.
So
and the winner of that has Arizona State. Tennessee, if they beat Ohio State, then all of a sudden they have Oregon at Oregon. Or I guess that's not. That'd be at the Rose Bowl. Man, that's a gauntlet, dude. They're going to have to go through Ohio State. They would have to then beat Oregon, and then you're probably playing, I'm guessing, Texas, assuming they get past Clemson and Arizona State. Dude, Tennessee's path to the championship, if they go all the way, will be the toughest teams in the tournament.
yeah,
100%. Yeah.
it's not going to be Ohio State is the biggest cupcake.
No, Ohio State's not a cupcake. So
no,
you got to beat Ohio State. Yeah.
On Tennessee's route, Ohio State's the cupcake. So you got to take care of business.
You got to beat Ohio State. You got to beat Oregon. You likely have to play Texas, and then you got to play whoever the winner is of the other half, which let's just assume it's Georgia, and then you got Georgia again.
And
so if you can run those four schools, which man, that might be the biggest national championship Tennessee's ever won.
Yeah,
if they make that run.
And Carson Beck, this injury, this elbow injury, is going to be interesting. What I've heard is
good for Georgia. You're right.
UCL, which the repair for that sometimes can be therapy, depending on the severity of it. In baseball, it's Tommy John surgery. Which
we know what that means. Yeah.
Yeah, and
most guys don't get back to 100% after that.
Right.
Baseball. So,
but I heard I think it was a trainer or sports medicine somebody saying, it's near devastating for a baseball player. But for a baseball player, there's a lot more torque that you're putting on your elbow there. It's generally pitchers who are throwing 100 or more pitches in the game. That didn't include warm-ups, warming up in between innings, all that. In football, you're not throwing as hard as you can every time. You're not putting the same kind of torque on your elbow with off-speed pitches, and you're not throwing it quite as many times. So it'd be interesting to see what his timetable is. He's got 3 weeks, so some time to rest. Is it a sprain? Is it a tear? I don't know, and they may not know either. But that's going to be interesting for Georgia's playoff run as well.
Yep.
How much of a drop off is there if you have to go to Stockton for this playoff run?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Before we wrap up here, I just want to give a quick shout out also to your Tennessee Vols men's basketball team, who's currently #1 in the country.
Yeah, let's go.
I'd be remiss if we didn't at least acknowledge that. So,
and not far behind them, your Auburn Tigers.
That is going to be a fun game.
the SEC, Tennessee, Auburn.
Yeah, there's some good teams in the SEC this year.
Kentucky, Alabama. I mean, it's going to be good.
Florida's top 10. There's some good schools in the SEC in basketball. So
we'll be getting into that soon enough. But Jared,
that was an aside. Sorry.
Hey, a good aside.
Wanted to give tribute to your Vols. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. If you want to give tribute to my Vols, find us online at Third Saturday in October, or hit us up on social media at TSIO Pod on Venmo. We're gonna have some playoff chats coming up. So
coming up soon. Looking forward to it.
Hit us up on Venmo and be a part of that chat room. It's go time. It's time for playoffs. There's bowl season too. We're gonna have tons of bowls to talk about because we got a few SEC teams.
The season is not over. There are still games to be played.
It is Christmas time.
It is.
So,
tis the season.
Tis the season indeed. Jared,
hopefully for a Tennessee run, we'll see. I'm rooting for it, man. I really am. I'd love that. There's gonna be movies made if that happens.
Oh man, I want Santa to be in orange and white.
Who's gonna play Josh Heupel if they make a movie about Tennessee making that run? It's gonna be like Matt Damon or something.
I was thinking Kevin James.
There you go,
Kevin.
Kevin James is due. Maybe that would be a good one.
Yeah, but here we go. I just want to remind everybody, heroes come in all sizes. And it's college football playoff time. Roll Vols.
Yeah, go Vols, War Eagle. Let's get to it. Playoff, baby.
Tailgate, man cave, living room.